Hey there, welcome to today's episode. As the title suggests, we're going to take a look at stem splitting on the new MPC Live III. Now, the claims from Akai are that because this is a more powerful device, we should have better stem splitting. They're calling it studio quality, but ultimately you and I can decide that between us. Now, I've always said my favorite stem splitting is Logic Pro. That's on the iPad. You can get the desktop version as well, and I'm not sponsored by Logic or anything. I just do happen to think it is the best stem splitting. And obviously what I'm hoping is Akai have come through on this, and they are going to give us nice stem splitting right inside of the box, because typically I do use my iPad. It means having another piece of gear and feeding those stems into the MPC. Now, before we begin, stem splitting is a very difficult thing to show. We're going to show it here in real time, but what I mean by that is that there are a lot of contributing factors when it comes to stem splitting. The first one being, what is the quality of the audio file that you feed into it? For this demonstration, I've picked three kind of audio loops. They're relatively short, and I've tried to find slightly different genres, but something that I might dig for. And in terms of the quality, I'm using it straight from Apple Music with the lossless format, so hopefully it will be high quality in terms of the files that we're putting in. And then you have all the other factors as well, like the genre, how busy the music is in terms of how many layers, what are you trying to separate. If you've got some kind of loop that you're trying to separate and it's got a ton of instruments in there, layered with vocals, layered with drums, obviously the results won't be as good as if you've got something a little bit more stripped back. That's just the way that it works. Now, in terms of the algorithm, what Akai have set up, I have a feeling as time goes by that will be improved as well, because most devices, as the firmware gets updated, as the new technology is launched, then we'll see improvements across the board. So even though we're going to test this now, as this has kind of just been launched, we may well see improvements in the future, but just keep that in mind. It is pretty difficult to demonstrate stem splitting, being completely fair, but we'll do our best to just get some examples today. What I've done is I've created three different drum tracks. Each one of those drum tracks has one loop loaded up so that we can just kind of bounce through and see what happens. I've also had to pick relatively obscure samples because I don't really want to get in trouble for YouTube's copyright, and it's getting tougher and tougher to do that. But equally, I didn't really just want to go and find something from Splice. I wanted some samples that I might actually dig for. So what we'll do, we'll start on track 1, and I'm just going to play you this first loop. Now, I have kept it relatively short, and we'll see what the times are like as it splits this up. But with all stem splitting, it doesn't matter what device you use, there is a little bit of time involved. If you're going to try and split out something like an entire track, it will take a minute to do that. But let's take a quick listen to the first loop on this track.
It must mean something when you help a friend, sister, brother. Do you understand?
Now, technically, that is a loop. It would just loop around. Now, I want to do the stem splitting part in real time because I want to show you exactly how long it takes. I don't want to skip past that part. So if we jump over to sample edit, you will notice one of the things at the top here is stem splitting. So we're just going to go straight into that. I'm going to split it into everything so we can take all of the individual elements. You can choose which ones you want, but we're going to take everything. And I'm just going to say do it so we can see exactly how long it takes to just split out what is a relatively short loop. Now you'll notice, just as before, prepares the stem system. This happened on the Gen 1 versions as well. This has kind of always happened when you're talking about standalone. And there it goes. It is processing. And you can see it's not exactly speedy, but I would say compared to the Gen 1 devices, the old stem splitting, this is a little bit quicker. But again, it's not going to blow your socks off in terms of the speed. Still going. Still going. I know this is a little bit like watching paint dry, but at the end of the day, if you want to see what this is actually like to work with, and keep in mind this is a relatively short loop, this is how long it takes. So it's going and it's going. Considering we've upgraded to a better processor, it's still not that speedy. Logic Pro on the iPad is definitely a lot quicker than this, but of course it's got Apple's technology behind it, the M2 chip, that type of thing on the iPad that I use. But we're still going, almost there. And doing a little bit more. Come on. There we go. So it has split our stems. It's not horrible, the wait time for it, but as you can see, there is a little bit of waiting time. What it's going to do is it's going to keep an original copy of the sample for you. And as we use our encoder to just scroll through whatever is loaded up into the sample pool, we'll be able to see the other options. This one here is other. So obviously it's stripped out everything other than your drums, your vocal, and your bass line. And we're going to play through these in one moment. Let's just scroll through and see the other pieces. So there's our drums, there's our bass, and somewhere in here, there should be some vocals. I'm going to start with the vocals and let's see what that's like. So all we have to do is press play on the pad to audition this.
It must mean something. You help a friend, sister, brother. Do you understand?
And I have to say, that's pretty good. It's a pretty decent, clean vocal, certainly workable, and a massive improvement over the prior stem splitting in standalone mode. Let's move over and take a listen to other. So this is everything else. And just to be fair and just to make sure we got enough volume, I am going to process this just to normalize it and make sure that the sound is kind of as loud as it can be. So we'll go to normalize and do it. Just up the volume a little bit more. Again, quite surprising and not bad results. There are some artifacts in there, but with all stem splitting, you get that. But it is usable. I dare say as well, if you actually put the bass line back into that, it would be more usable. Let's move over and we'll take a look at the drums. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to normalize them just to make sure we're getting enough. Keep in mind as well, with these like older records, you can see the volume level for the drums is panned. It's slightly louder on one side. You could convert this to mono if that's what you want to mess around with. But let's listen to the drums, which weren't particularly prominent in this track. Yeah, okay, as I mentioned, they were quite quiet in the mix anyway. They're not really very impactful drums. And in the real world, for a sample like that, I probably wouldn't be taking that sample for its drums, probably more for the melody. But the results there were okay. Finally, we can take a look at the bass line that it's pulled out for us, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to normalize it, make sure it's loud enough. Again, an okay result. There's definitely bleeding from some of the other elements. But for this particular sample, I do think if you took the bass line and the other section where it's just all the other instruments, you would have a pretty nice little melodic sample that you could slice up and mess around with. And the vocal was pretty clean out of this one. Let's go back to main, where we can take a look at track 2 and do exactly the same thing. So we'll start off by playing this loop.
Give you my loving forever, and it's all left up to you. Try it, you like it, baby, don't you know it's for free, yeah.
Another loop, this time a little bit more kind of soulful. And we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll go to sample edit, we'll click on stems, and we're going to take all 4 pieces. I won't put any edits in. Let's just see how long this thing takes. I've got a feeling this one was a slightly longer sample, so obviously we might be in for a little bit of a wait. Preparing the stem systems again, and then it's starting to process. I wasn't sure with the stem system if it's something that it kind of, once it's booted it up once, maybe just because we just started up the device, it would kind of kick in a little bit quicker. But it seems about the same, and it's getting there. It's running through the loop. I don't know how much the audio file plays a part in that as well, like the type of audio file. If it's very dense, then maybe the processing time is longer. I don't really know, but this is it. So again, we will wait patiently. It's moving through. Just while we're here, and just because I've noticed it, I have got some dust on my device. A black device and these pads, it is a typical dust magnet. I did say that in the first impressions video. One thing that you can use is a little bit of masking tape, like a low-tack tape, if you want to just clean your pads off and stuff. It's what I've always done with the MPC. And here we go. We are getting to the end of this one. It's getting there. And a little bit of extra time. Kind of curious about the results. It's going to split it into exactly the same parts again. So let's start with the vocal.
Give you my loving forever. And it's all up to you. Try it, try it. You like it, you'll like it. Baby, don't you know it's for free? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. It does seem to do a pretty good job on vocals. That's all usable. A little bit of EQ here and there, you could tweak it. But ultimately, I am pretty impressed with how it's handled that so far. Let's now move over to the other, so all other instruments. And again, just to be fair, we're going to process this and we're going to just make sure that we normalize and just get a little bit more volume. Not bad. Again, with this one, there's some pretty hard panning of the audio. So if you wanted to put it into mono, you might get slightly better results if you were looking to chop it up. And I do think when you strip it out, if you put the bass line back in, if you're just looking for a nice little bit of something melodic to chop up, that would be the best way to go about it. Are there artifacts? Yes, of course there are. Do I think it's as good as Logic Pro? No, not quite. But it's better than I was expecting. Let's now move down to the drums. We'll just normalize, make sure it's loud enough. Okay, not the best result with the drums. To be fair, they are full of kind of percussive sounds and stuff in there. There's a little bit of bleeding from some of the other tracks. If you've got something and the drums are relatively isolated or not too deep in the mix with a bunch of other stuff, then I dare say it will be better results if you're just trying to find a little drum break that you want to pinch from something. This is why it's pretty difficult to demonstrate stem splitting and be fair, because there are a lot of variables. But I'm pretty sure with the right sample, you could get some usable drum sounds out of this. And finally, we'll go down to the bass line and we'll do the same thing. Yeah, okay, about as good as it was before. I do think combining the bass with the other is going to be the better way to go if you're looking for the melodics. But is there a bass note or something you could pinch from there? Yeah, absolutely. You could take a bass note, put it into a key group and play around with it. And so finally, let's jump back to main and go to our third track. Now, with this third track, what I've done is I picked something that doesn't have any vocals, because we need to talk about the different scenarios. It's not always going to be something where you need a sample that has all the vocals. Maybe you've just found something with a little drum break, something slightly more stripped back. And so with this one, as you'll hear in a moment, it doesn't have any vocals to this. It's another loop, and to be fair, I really like that as a sample. That's something that if I strip the drums out and we could just use the melodics, could do something interesting with that. We'll go over to our sample edit, we'll click stems, do exactly the same thing. And here we go. So, preparing the stem system again. And is it going to kick into action? There we go. It's moving along, moving along. Might have to put some like elevator music in the background or something for this. Thank you also to everyone that's been enjoying the first video. A lot of comments there. I've tried to answer, reply to everybody. Some people are a little bit upset about the fact that I kept mentioning the pad colors. Just don't worry about it. It's just not really that important. And here we go. Here we go. Almost there. Right. Let's see what we get out of this one with a slightly more stripped back sample. Now, there is a tiny snippet of vocal at the beginning of this one, so I will play it, but it's not really very interesting. It's kind of a weird muffled voice at the beginning. I could hear it in the sample. We'll move over to other because that's really what we're more interested in. And again, for fairness, I'm going to move over, go to normalize and normalize that before we begin. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure with the bass line underneath, as I've been saying throughout the video, that would be a really nice sample that you could play around with. Next, let's move over to the drums. I can see the waveform's a little bit cleaner here. I'm hoping we get slightly better results because it doesn't have to fight with the vocal. They look pretty loud, but for fairness, let's normalize. There's definitely a couple of usable drum sounds in there, but it is bleeding with some of the other instruments. Now, as I've said, that is going to depend on what you feed into it, the type of sample, how sparse it is. But we are getting usable bits of audio out of all of this. I could take some of those little drum sounds from the beginning where it's slightly more isolated, chop those up, put them onto some pads and play around with them. And finally, let's move over to the bass line, do exactly the same. Yeah, again, okay results. It's not a very prominent bass line, and it even sounds slightly more like an electronic bass or something that's been layered underneath that. If it were me, I'd take the bass, I'd take other, I'd merge those together, and then I'd chop that sample up, and I'd probably have quite a lot of fun with it. So anyway, that is a test of stem splitting on the Akai MPC Live III. You can take it for what it is. As I said, there's lots of variables here in terms of sample quality, the genre of music, how dense the music is, but in terms of the quality on this MPC Live III, in comparison to my original Live 1 where we're using the old processor, that type of thing, the quality of this is night and day. It's highly improved. And as I said, I've got no affiliation with Logic. I just prefer Logic Pro for stem splitting. I do think it is one of the best on the market. This isn't too far away, but I still think Logic has it beat. Anyway, it's here. It's available to you. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.